Good evening, everyone, and welcome to POA Proud's Inquiry Teach-In webinar. I'm River Russell, my pronouns are he, him, and I'll be your host for the evening. This ongoing series serves as a way to bring knowledgeable professionals to a wide audience on a host of different subjects concerning the LGBTQ community and will be recorded for posterity. After the presentation, we'll open it up for Q&A. Tonight's inquiry is called Your Voice, Your Choice, an LGBTQ Power of Attorney for Healthcare workshop. If you haven't already, please download a copy of the Power of Attorney Healthcare form so you can follow along. There's a link to the form in the Facebook event description, and I'll also paste the link in the chat so you'll be able to follow along with the workshop as we go through. I'm also going to paste a link in the chat for Carle Health's Transgender Care Directory that was provided by tonight's guest speaker. So I'd like to start by providing some background on your presenter. Tonight we'll be hearing from Reverend Charlotte Hoffman, pronouns are she, her, who serves as Senior Staff Chaplain at Carl Broman Medical Center. She has clinical oversight for spiritual care in the areas of the emergency department, behavioral health, and obstetrics. She also serves as lead for Carle Health's LGBTQ community advisory group. Thank you, Charlotte, for joining us this evening. I'm now going to hand the spotlight over to Charlotte to kick off the workshop. After the presentation, we'll open it up for questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the introduction, River. I just want to go ahead and get a thumbs up, River. As long as everybody can hear me, just pop that in the chat so I know that we are good to go here. And as I get started, I just wanted to give an overview of where we're going as we talk about power of attorney for healthcare. So I'll share a little bit more about myself and also about inclusive care at Carle Health. We'll talk about what a power of attorney for healthcare is and who should have one, and why it matters specifically for the LGBTQ community. And then we'll actually take some time to walk through the form together, and you'll have the chance to complete that if you want to. And we will, of course, allow some time for Q&A as well. So a couple of rules of the road for our time together today. I just want to be mindful to create a brave, respectful, and honoring space for everyone. If you have questions or comments, please try to use I language. And then because this is virtual, as you can see popping into our chat now, we will include links or PDFs for some of these key resources and the Power of Attorney for Healthcare document. So as River said, that was in the Facebook event invite, and they're also going into the chat right now. River is going to be watching the chat for any kind of Q&A, things like that. So you will have a chance to ask questions as we go along. So a little bit more about me. Again, I'm Reverend Charlotte Hoffman, she, her pronouns. I'm Senior Staff Chaplain here at Carle Broman. I'm a board certified chaplain by the Association of Professional Chaplains, and I am also a dog person with 2 rescue dogs. And you can see me there with some of our chaplain staff here from the hospital where I am, because I am part of a team. And I always kind of start, oftentimes people may not have heard of a chaplain or know what a chaplain does, or might be familiar with chaplains in other settings. We are different from a pastor or a faith community leader who might be there to represent their particular faith's doctrines and provide answers based on faith-specific viewpoints. As professional chaplains, we really support you in giving voice to your deepest questions. I like to say that everyone has things they believe in and that they value and that are important to them, and we are here to respect what those things are for you. What can patients and others, so loved ones, staff, expect of a professional chaplain? So immediate solidarity amid chaos, uncertainty, fear, or sorrow, kind of a holding environment, an empathic presence as you seek to make meaning and connect or reconnect with what is important or sacred to you. A non-judgmental spiritual or religious figure. Chaplains can also advocate for patients and loved ones when needed, which can be really important in a setting where maybe there's a lot at stake, there's a lot of information coming at you, and you're trying to make some pretty big decisions. And then finally, of course, being a sounding board as patients and loved ones consider options and ethical questions. So that's just a little bit more about chaplains and what we do. In my setting, one of the things that we do here is we help with power of attorney for healthcare. And it wouldn't be a presentation in the community if I didn't also talk about inclusive care at Carle. So a couple of highlights here. Every hospital across Carle Health, including our Peoria locations, has a healthcare equality index designation by the Human Rights Campaign. You see that high performer symbol there for my hospital, but you can, if you're curious, you can actually go on the HRC website and see each hospital's designation. So you can look this up yourself if you want to see. This is a real process that we go through. It's not rainbow washing. There's a lot that goes into getting that designation. We also have our transgender care directory. There's a mini copy of the flyer there, but you have a link directly in the chat to look at the online version. So if you're looking for a broad array of care, that is a wonderful resource guide. We also really believe in being in the community, so that includes the Transgender Resource Fair here in Bloomington Normal and major pride events here and in Peoria and Champaign-Urbana as well. And then we also do have LGBTQ plus specific breast and chest health guidelines. So I don't have a link to that, but we do have a PDF, and I know that that is another resource that's available as well that folks have said is really helpful. So it's always fun to kind of start with a pop quiz as we start to think about power of attorney for healthcare. So the first question is true or false? Power of attorney for healthcare is really geared towards seniors. So 55 plus, everybody else, don't have to think about it yet. So any thoughts, any guesses on that one? That is actually false. We recommend that anyone over the age of 18 have a power of attorney for healthcare. Next up, our next question. You don't need a power of attorney for healthcare if you're healthy. True or false? That is also false. I don't know about you all, but I don't really plan to get sick. It just kind of happens. And that, needing a power of attorney for healthcare could be something as simple as just having high fever and not being yourself for a few hours and needing someone to talk to your care team during that time. So even if you're healthy, that's a great time to put one into place so that you have it if and when you need it. True or false? You don't need an attorney or notary to complete a power of attorney for healthcare. What's your guess? That is actually true. You do not need an attorney or a notary to complete your form. And we'll talk about how you can get it done today if you want to. Next up, true or false? You can only select a decision maker who's related to you by blood or marriage. What do you think? That is false. They do not have to be related to you at all. As long as it's someone that you trust and who you trust to follow your wishes, you can choose them as your decision maker. Oh, it's a great question I see from David. Will a power of attorney for healthcare from the state of Florida work in Illinois? So in most cases, there is reciprocity. I'd have to look and see, like, does it have the same kind of information? Like, does it list your decision maker? Does it list their contact information? So in most cases, the answer is going to be yes. I think as we walk through this, as long as your form has some of the key pieces of information about who your decision maker is, my guess would be yes, but without looking at the exact form and looking at the reciprocity, I wouldn't be able to say 100% for sure. But it is a fairly standard document. So I hope that helps kind of start to answer your question. Hopefully as we walk through the form later, that'll help answer that more clearly for you. All right, our next question here, true or false? Good follow-up question. Your decision maker needs to live in the same state as you. What do you think? That's false. They need to be reachable in case a care team has questions about your care, but they don't necessarily need to be physically present. Many people might choose someone who's close by to them, but they don't have to be as long as they are reachable. True or false? If you don't have a valid power of attorney for healthcare to designate a decision maker, Illinois law will dictate who makes healthcare decisions for you if you can't speak for yourself. What do you think? That's actually true. If you have not selected your decision maker, Illinois law will decide for you. And as we'll see in a moment, that may or may not be who you want to be making decisions for you. So we've kind of come through the pop quiz. Hopefully that'll give you some things to think about. So let's dive in. Advanced care planning. So power of attorney for healthcare kind of falls under this umbrella term of advanced care planning. So Paige, I see your question. I will come to that here at the end of the slide. That's a great question. So advanced care planning is an umbrella term, helps you plan in advance what you would want for your healthcare if you were unable to make your own decisions. There are a couple different kinds of advanced care planning. One of the most important kinds that often gets overlooked is just conversations, right? The documents are important, but just as important are conversations with your loved ones about what is important to you and what you would and wouldn't want in terms of care. So I have an older family member, and we got to talking about these things. And they said, you know, if I really can't do very much anymore, I don't care how fancy a retirement community is. And I don't care how nice my room is. I want sunshine and a view. And how beautiful that that person had the opportunity to tell me that. I would have never guessed that that was important to them. But now, if they ever get to that point in their need for care, I know that. Not anything that would land on one of these documents, but it's really important to them. So conversations are important. Of course, then you're also probably going to have some paperwork that goes along with that. You can have a power of attorney for healthcare. So that is you choosing who you would want to make healthcare decisions for you. You may also have heard of a POLST, which stands for Physician Order for Life-Sustaining Treatment. Lots of times this gets called a DNR, or a Do Not Resuscitate. It's kind of a misnomer because it actually gives you a lot of different options, including saying that you do want to be resuscitated. There's a living will, which is a healthcare thing, not an estate planning kind of a will. And there's even a mental health treatment declaration. So it's really important to note here that advanced care planning is not a will or estate plan or a financial power of attorney. So Paige, to your question there, can you have multiple powers of attorney? Technically, yes. Maybe you have a financial one and a healthcare one. You don't want more than one healthcare one at once. You would want to do a new one. The old one then becomes irrelevant. It's old. It's not valid anymore. So you can have different kinds of power of attorney, but with healthcare power of attorney, only one. You can have multiple decision makers. You can have one, and then you can have backup agents. So if you meant decision makers as opposed to the forms, yes, and we'll get to that. You can only have one decision maker at a time, but you can list successor agents. So hopefully that helps answer your question. All right, so a little bit more about power of attorney for healthcare. So this form gives you the power to choose who you trust to make healthcare decisions for you if you're not able to make your own decisions. And again, most people think of like, oh my gosh, what if I'm on a vent, right? Am I going to be a vegetable? Well, it could be you're having minor surgery and you're coming out of anesthesia and you're not legally able to make your own decisions and somebody's got to answer a question from the doctor. Could be having a high fever for a few hours, right? It doesn't have to be an extreme situation that this might be needed. So your agent, your decision maker, can be a friend, a relative, a spouse or a partner, or any other person that you trust. But you do want to make sure that you choose someone who you know will follow your wishes. So that's important to take into account. Again, we recommend that every adult over 18 have a power of attorney for healthcare in place. And then how do you know when it's time to do one and maybe when it's time to redo your power of attorney for healthcare? So a classic example would be if you legally change your name. That's a good opportunity to update your legal documents, like your power of attorney for healthcare. Other major life changes, so things like marriage, divorce, or maybe your current agent is no longer available or able to speak for you, you may want to update that. Maybe you've had a change in your own health that might change what you would want. That's an opportunity to revisit this. And like every kind of major life document, things change over time. So every 5 or 10 years, if you haven't taken a look at it, it's a good chance to go back and see if that's still what you want and who you'd want. And then we'll cover this again more at the end, but lots of times people say, well, if I do a power of attorney for healthcare, like if I fill out the form, what do I do next? So you're going to want to make copies to share with your primary care doctor, any of your decision makers, etc. And then keep that original in a safe place where you know what it is. I've seen so many patients in the hospital that are like, I have one somewhere, I don't know where it is, I just need to fill out a new one because I can't find the one that I have. So keep that original somewhere where you know that you can find it again. So what happens if you don't have a power of attorney for healthcare in place? So this kind of comes out of our pop quiz. As I said, Illinois has a law called the Healthcare Surrogate Law that will choose for you in this order. So if somebody has a court-appointed guardian, that's it. Their decision maker is that person. Otherwise, guess what? If you're married, it's automatically your spouse, unless you've appointed someone else. Then adult children, if you have them, parents, adult siblings, adult grandchildren, and number 7, almost at the bottom of the list, is a close friend. So if to you, chosen family is who you would want to be helping to make your decisions, if you don't say that in a power of attorney for healthcare, guess what? They're almost at the end of the line there. So think about just some of the reasons that you might or might not want people on this list making this decision, right? Sometimes somebody is in the process of a divorce, they're still legally married, but they don't want that spouse making decisions for them anymore. Conversely, I've seen many people who say, I really love my spouse, but I don't want to put, a decision on them, so I'm going to pick someone else. Or heaven forbid, what if we're in an accident in the same time and my spouse can't decide for me? Maybe they have somebody else listed as a backup. Likewise, parents. People have all kinds of different relationships with their family or lack of relationship. Maybe you want those folks listed, maybe you don't. So this gives you the chance to kind of know who'd be your decision maker if you didn't have a power of attorney for healthcare. And is that who you would want? So why do we avoid this topic, right? Why do people not want to talk about things like this? Well, in dominant US culture, we tend to avoid having meaningful conversations around death. It's just not something that people like to talk about. So much so that only maximum about 1/3 of the population has an advance directive in place. And of that, partnered individuals are more likely than single people to complete an advance directive. So there's some reasons why oftentimes it's not something that people necessarily want to talk about or think about. So why do you think having a power of attorney for healthcare in place is so important for the LGBTQ plus community? So feel free to pop some things in the chat here. Take a guess. Why do you think that this document is especially important for members of the LGBTQ plus community? Any guesses there? And I know it may take folks a little bit of time to enter things in the chat. All right, well, we may get some guesses coming in, but think about that. It really does matter for our community for a number of reasons. So marriage equality is fewer than 10 years old. So pre-marriage equality, a power of attorney for healthcare was a way to have someone that you trusted with you at your bedside, possibly a partner, right? So this was a way to formally and legally recognize that relationship in the absence of marriage equality. So very important in that sense. And then I don't have the study. This is from the sources are at the end, so forgive me for not attributing this quote right now. I promise there's a slide at the end with all of these sources. So LGBTQ plus people execute advance directives to prevent family members from attempting to overturn end-of-life choices or fear that family may interfere or ignore a partner's role in their lives. So again, especially prior to marriage equality, this was particularly important. And then, of course, people can have varied relationships with family for a variety of reasons. Chosen family can be really important. So power of attorney for healthcare is a way to include chosen family in some major healthcare decisions. And then you probably have noticed that advanced care planning is often framed in a heteronormative way, right? So that Illinois surrogate decision maker hierarchy, guess what? Spouse is almost always the default there. And then, of course, issues with cultural competence and history around healthcare within the LGBTQ plus community, right? So distrust of healthcare systems for good reasons, right? One of the studies I looked at said a quarter of nurses reported limited awareness and knowledge about caring for LGBTQ plus clients. More than half of sexual and gender minority adults experience some form of discrimination in healthcare. And for those who are transgender or gender nonconforming, the percentage increases to 70%. And so I do want to add here, one of the things I'm really proud of that Carle Health has recently completed in the last few months. They have trained every single registration staff person across the entire system. So that's Peoria area, Bloomington Normal, Champaign-Urbana, and down south in Richland Olney. Every single registration person across the system has been trained in LGBTQ plus inclusion. And I think that that's really an important step to building trust across all of the touch points of your care. And then another thing here that I didn't dive deep into is that in general, members of the LGBTQ plus community face poorer health outcomes called health disparities. And there are a lot of different reasons for that. I could name and quote some statistics there, but due to systemic injustice and a lot of intersectionality, if you're looking at the possibility of having poorer health outcomes due to identities, it's just one more reason to put something in place that will help protect your wishes. You might have thought of some other reasons as we go through this as well. So now we're just going to take some time to walk through the form together. So grab a pen and paper, or there's that link there to the form that River put in the chat. So feel free to look at that as we go along. Again, if you don't have the form in front of you, that's okay. You can just kind of take notes, and I think you'll be able to get what you need. And as a note, I am using the Carle Health version of this, but it basically contains all the basic information that, if you went on the Illinois Department of Public Health website, there's certain basic information that's always in a power of attorney for healthcare. So this just happens to be the version of the form that we're looking at. That's the one that River put in the chat. So we'll just start at the top here. One of the biggest notes I have is please write legibly. You want people to be able to read your name and get the right phone number for your agent, things like that. So make sure that everything is easy to read. You'll want to put your name and make sure that it is your legal name because it is a legal document. So I recognize that that can be a challenging and hard thing. If anybody has questions about recent name changes, I can address that as well. But put your name down, add your date of birth, your address, and your best phone number. And in that top left-hand box, just put your name and date of birth. Skip that MRN box, that's medical record number. That's how we know to put this on your chart here in the hospital. You don't have to worry about that. You can leave that line blank. So I'm not able to see people's faces and see when it's time to move on to the next slide. So I'll kind of give it a moment or two and I'll try to pace myself through. But please, if I am moving too quickly, pop something in the chat and I will try to slow down or come back to something if you feel like we're moving too quickly. So that's the beginning of the form. The next section on the page is, who do you want your agent to be? Who do you want that decision maker to be? So you're going to put their legal name and then put their best phone number. So if you only have their cell, that's fine. Put that down. You can leave work or home blank. If you're like, I know who I want it to be, but I don't have their number handy because who memorizes phone numbers anymore? That's fine. You can come back to it, right? The goal tonight is to give you everything you need so that you can complete this if and when you want to and you are ready to. My job is just to provide information and answer questions for you. And then for your agent's address, you don't need a full address. You can just list the city and state where they live, like Normal, Illinois or Peoria, Illinois. And you can only list one agent, right? You can only have one decision maker at a time, but you can list up to 2 successor or backup agents. And so that section will come next, but pick who you want. I will say, having had many of these conversations, sometimes people say, well, I know who I want to pick, but I kind of want to talk with them first before I finish the form. That's fine. It's a-okay to kind of think through this, plan what you want, and then have conversations with loved ones before you sign and fully finish the form. That's okay too. So then you have a chance to pick up to 2 successor agents. You don't have to list any, and you can list 1 or you can list 2. But if you choose to, again, put their legal name, their best phone number, and then just the city and state where they live. You don't need the full address. So I will keep moving through. Again, please, if the pace is too quick or you need me to come back to something, just pop something into the chat to let me know. This next part, these 3 boxes, give you the chance to choose when their decision-making power takes effect. So you can only pick one, but there is no right or wrong choice here. The right answer is what is right for you. And so I'll kind of walk through what the options are. It sort of goes from the narrowest to the most broad in terms of when their decision-making power kicks in. And you'll just check whichever box is the right one for you. So the first one says that they can make decisions for you only when you can't make your own decisions, and the doctor taking care of you has to decide that you are not able to make your own decisions. So basically, that's it. They only get to make decisions if you can't make them yourself. The second one is similar. They can only make decisions for you if you can't make them for yourself. Your doctor has to decide that. But starting now, for the purposes of helping you with your healthcare planning, they can talk to your doctors, have access to your medical and mental health records, things like that. So some people like this because they want their loved one to be able to get their latest lab results, things like that. But again, their decision-making power only kicks in fully if you are not able to make your own decisions. The rest is just record sharing. The third one is pretty broad, that they can make decisions for you starting now and continuing after you're no longer able to make them for yourself. While I'm still able to make my own decisions, I can still do so if I want to. And then your agent still has access to your medical and mental health records, etc., just like in part 2. So I've seen people choose each one of these. depending on what's right for them. Sometimes people say, well, when we make decisions together anyway, let me pick part 3, or part 2, or part 1, right? Any of those options, there's no right or wrong answer except what is right for you. And in general, just with medical ethics, if you're able to speak for yourself and make your own decisions, healthcare teams are going to be basing their decisions on what you are telling them you want for your care. So just keep that in mind as well. So I will pause there, and then the last part of this page is a little tiny box hiding at the bottom that says, if a guardian of my person is to be appointed, I nominate the agent acting under this power of attorney as guardian. Kind of a mouthful. You don't have to do anything with this box. You can leave it blank. But basically, if you were ever in a situation where a court had to appoint a guardian of your person, this is your chance by checking that box to basically say, hey, I nominate my agent. That's what that means if you check that box. So give me just a moment. I've been talking a lot. And then just have a little cough drop here to keep me going. So congratulations, you're already halfway done. We're halfway through the form. So again, if you have questions or things like that, pop them in the chat. We'll keep going. So on to page 2, this box is going to look familiar. We did it on page 1. Put your legal name, your date of birth, skip the MRN number. Great, we'll move on. Now this section is often one where people sort of have a gut response of which one is right for them. This is kind of your chance to provide guidance to your agent about life-sustaining treatment. So I want to point out this is guidance about what your wishes are. It is not legally binding like a post or like that DNR form. This does not mean that you would be resuscitated or would not be resuscitated. This is something totally different. It's just guidance to your agent. And there is no right or wrong answer. The right answer is what's right for you. So if you choose to fill out this section, you're going to pick one, you're going to check one box or the other based on what you want. And it's really about quality of life versus length of life. So the first one says the quality of life is more important than the length of my life. You know, so basically if you're unconscious, your doctor does not think that you're going to be able to wake up or recover your ability to think, to talk with family and friends, experience your surroundings. You're saying, I don't want treatment to prolong my life or delay my death, but please do make me comfortable and relieve me of pain. So if I hear in the hospital someone say something like, I don't want to be a vegetable, I'm going to explore that. And oftentimes what they mean is something like this first box is saying. I have had other people choose that second option. They say, you know what? No, staying alive is the most important thing to me. It doesn't matter how sick I am or how much I'm suffering or how much my care costs or how unlikely it is I recover. Prolong my life as much as possible for as long as possible. So again, choose what's right for you. Check one box or the other. This will be guidance to your agent about what's important to you. If you're curious about what that means, I've had situations in the hospital where, you know, patients not able to speak for themselves, families making a tough decision. And if somebody has this document in place and we have a copy of it, I'm able to actually pull it out and say, hey, this is what your loved ones said they wanted. And it can provide some measure of comfort to family in a really tough time. So this is also a gift to the people that you care about, if this were ever to be something that they would have to make decisions about. All right, so we're almost done here with the form. So you should be about in the middle of the second page now. There's a section here about specific limitations to your agent's decision-making authority. Almost every time people are like, I don't know what to put here, and they just leave this section blank. And that's fine. Most people can't think of anything, so leave it blank if that's you. Sometimes people will add things. If they do, I see something like I want my organs donated, or I don't want my organs donated, or I don't want blood products, things like that. Typically, if people are refusing blood products, that's often related to religious reasons, and they probably already have something in place for that. But those are just some of the kinds of things that I've seen if people do fill this particular document out. So we are at the end of the form. So before you sign, if you've been filling this out as we go, please don't sign yet. There's some really important things to note here. Wait to sign until you have your witness there. Remember, your witness does not need to be an attorney. They do not need to be a notary. And you may choose to wait to sign this at all until you talk with your agents and or your loved ones. That's fine. You don't have to fill it out today. But if you do, or if you sign it at a later time, pay very close attention to who can and cannot witness your power of attorney for healthcare. So they have to be at least 18. They cannot be any of your agents. They cannot be related to you or the agent or your successor agents. They can't be your doctor or, dentist, things like that, or a relative of one of those people. Or they can't be an owner or operator of a healthcare facility if, for example, you are a patient in a hospital or a resident of a nursing home, right? So pick someone who's not any of those categories to be your witness. I can't tell you the number of times that people think that they have this all taken care of, and I review their power of attorney for healthcare, and it's not valid because an agent signed the document. So please don't fall into that pitfall. Make sure that you have an appropriate witness sign. So I know that we walked through a lot. I want to briefly touch on what happens once you've completed the document, and then I will make sure to pause and have some time for questions. So, hey, I've completed my power of attorney for healthcare. Now what? Make copies, like 5 or 6 copies. Get one to your primary care doctor and each of your agents. They should have copies, and maybe other loved ones if applicable. Keep that original in a safe place where you know you can find it again if you need to. Maybe you keep it with other legal documents. Consider keeping a copy maybe like in the glove box of your car, or having the information on a card you keep in your wallet. So at Carle Health, if I help someone fill one of these out in the hospital, I'm going to give them a wallet card where they can write the name of their primary care doctor, their healthcare decision maker, all that kind of stuff. Everything is right there. And I keep mine right behind my driver's license. So it's always with me. And it says that, hey, this document's filed at Carle. So even if I'm traveling somewhere, somebody can call that phone number on that card and get a copy of it. If you have Carle providers on your healthcare team, I grabbed this little snapshot off of our website. This is how you can get this added to your patient records with Carle. You can upload it to your My Carle account. In the Health tab, there's an Advanced Directives section. If you like snail mail, there's the address right there of where to send it to. Or to make it super easy, if you have an upcoming appointment, just take it with you and give it to the staff, and they will get it onto your account for you. So you want to make sure that not only do you fill it out, but it gets where you need to go, so that if it ever needs to be used, it's readily available. So there are references from earlier if you want to do a little research. And then this is our chance now for questions. I wanted to allow a generous amount of time for questions because I know that that's a lot of information and much of it might be new to you. So I wanted to see, River, I don't know if you've seen, I haven't seen any other questions come through, but if there's anything else, please feel free to ask now, and I'll be glad to answer what I can.
seen any come through. Until we do, I have some of my own questions.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
Does someone need to consent to be your power of attorney?
No. You can
Okay.
just put their name on the form and put the information down, but it is advisable to have a conversation with them. So they don't have to sign this form for them to be an agent, but again, sort of the guidelines I go with are pick someone you trust and who will follow your wishes. And so ideally, for them to follow my wishes, I'm going to want to tell them what I want, right? So, like for me personally, this is very tender and vulnerable, but it's like, don't pull the plug like right away, but like kind of, give a chance for treatments and like here's what's important to me in terms of recovery, and it might be a little kind of mushy and gray, right? That might be a conversation that I have with family. Um, you know, I know some people who are really struggle with pain and fear pain more than they might fear death. And so pain management for them would be the primary end of life concern as opposed to prolonging life. So those are just a couple examples. I am seeing questions come through, so let me kind of get to them. River, did you have one or two others that you wanted to raise before I kind of go through what I see in the chat there? Okay, so let's see. Let's see, Courtney's asking, is there ever an instance where someone can contest who you choose? Like if I assign a friend and my spouse has an issue with it, can they contest it? So, one of the things that I didn't cover that's in depth that chaplains do. So I am on ethics triage. I sit on my hospital's ethics committee. And almost every ethics consult that comes to us, one of the first questions we ask is, who's the decision maker? Can the patient make their own decisions? If not, who's the decision maker? So sometimes people do say, well, shouldn't it be this other person? Or, hey, here's this older version of the power of attorney for healthcare, and I was the decision maker on this one, but then somebody has a new version. So a couple of things. When you fill out your power of attorney for healthcare form, do ensure that you have not had any sedation or anesthesia within the last 24 hours. So at the hospital, if somebody's had a knee replacement and we get a request to help someone with power of attorney for healthcare, not only am I going to verify with their doctor that they're decisional, I'm going to also make sure that we are over 24 hours after they've had anesthesia. So you want to make sure that there's no question of decisionality at the time that you fill it out, right? That might come up, for example, around something like dementia or anesthesia. But in general, if everything is legible, if it's filled out correctly, it should be fine. There are a lot of different reasons that people may or may not want to choose their spouse. Hopefully, without knowing your situation, I want to try to answer your question. If you want to talk with me one-on-one, feel free to reach out to River and we can get connected that way, I think. But make sure it's valid, make sure it's legible, make sure the right people have signed the document, make sure that you have conversations with people about who you want to be your decision maker. If you've covered those things, you should be good, right? So Illinois surrogacy law doesn't matter if you have a valid power of attorney for healthcare in place that selects someone else. So I hope that helps answer your question and set you at ease. Todd is asking, if I use this branded Carl form, would it still work at other hospitals like OSF? Yes. We have a lot of patients who completed documents at OSF. As long as I can read it and it's got the relevant information on their form, it's good. Illinois Department of Public Health has a document online for power of attorney for healthcare. Yes, all of these forms have key information, and it would be portable in that way. So hopefully that helps answer your question. David's asking, how does Carl Health treat gay veterans who are there for care? So I will answer this in my role as lead of our system-wide LGBTQ plus community advisory group. So one of my roles is as an ombuds person. So I have direct links to our director of Carl Experience, who reads all the patient surveys. If someone has feedback about care and they don't want to put something in a survey that's going to be associated with their name, you reach out to me and I know who to talk to share that confidentially, so that does not, that feedback gets to the right place without your name being associated with it. I can speak to, so that's me a little bit on my soapbox about patient experience and the way that we take feedback very seriously. I can think of a question that we had come up recently that actually was shared by a physician in the community who wasn't even a Carl physician, was passing along confidentially a question from a patient, and within 24 hours we had an answer that we were able to pass back to that person. So we take that feedback very seriously. Also, I will say that we have a chaplain training program here at Carl Broman, and we expect our chaplains to be inclusive and respectful of everyone. So I am very passionate about that, as you can tell. So my heart goes out to you if you have not experienced the kind of care that you deserve at any healthcare facility. I hope that you are treated with full respect and with respect to all of who you are and all of the ways that you have served and lived in life. So I hope that that helps answer your question. If at any point you need someone to advocate for you, I know that at least in the hospital where I work, chaplains are available, and that is one of the roles that we can provide. So I could go on, but I hope that that helps respectfully answer your question. Any other questions that have come through, or River, that you can think of? Oh, I think you might be on mute. Can't hear you. Maybe pop something in the chat if you think of something. I know River's probably putting something in the chat. I'll give other folks a moment or two for any other final questions.
I was frozen, sorry, but I don't
know. All right. I see a question here coming through. So should you redo your POA if you legally changed your gender but didn't change your name? Let me see. I am trying to think through the document. I don't think anywhere in there it actually has gender on the form. We are going to have, and this is coming up at our next community advisory group meeting, but our medical records EPIC team, basically there's a way that you can go in to My Carl now. My understanding is that you can go in and update your gender within a My Carl account. So for example, if your name is the same but your gender has changed, that can be updated automatically in My Carl. So I think it should be fine. Let me double check that. And River, can I pass that answer along to you and have you send that along to wherever it's needed?
Absolutely. Can you hear me now? Is my microphone working?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yes, if you want to pass that information over, I'll just comment it below this video.
Okay. All right. Let me ask that. I'm thinking it's good, but let me double check with people who have more in different degrees than me. So that's an excellent question. David says, thank you for your time this evening. David, you are most welcome. And everyone, you are most welcome. This is really something that is so important. And usually the time you need it is often when it's too late to fill one out. So any other questions kind of going, gone? But again, River knows how to reach out to me. The folks at Peoria Proud know how to find me. If you have questions and things like that, are wondering how to give feedback about care, or wondering what resources Carle Health has, we have a lot of options, and we'd be glad to help get those out to you through Peoria Proud. So I just want to thank you all for joining, and thank River and all of Peoria Proud for inviting me to do this and for covering this really important topic. So I hope that it's been helpful to you and is a good resource, so that you know that your healthcare decisions are going to be respected, and that the people making decisions for you are the ones that you want to be making decisions for you if you were ever not able to speak for yourself. So thanks so much again. That's everything I have for this evening. So River, back over to you. Oh, I think you're muted again. You were kind of faint. Try one more time. It's super quiet. It's still very quiet. Right. Okay. I think Todd's going to wrap it up for us.
All right. Well, can you hear me?
Yep, we're good.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for coming, Charlotte, and everyone for coming here as well. Just wanted to shout out a few things for Peoria Proud before we go. This coming Thursday is our trivia night at Trailside Center. We still have a few tables available and individual tickets. This will be posted on Facebook and YouTube automatically, and then we will have a more edited version come out in a few weeks. So if you missed this live, you can watch it pretty much anytime, or if you missed little parts of it. But yeah.
All right.
Thanks for coming out.
Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.